Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu.
This is Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, episode 55. I am one of your hosts, Wheelchair21, and joining me for the opening segment of this episode is none other than the frickin' Visible Ninja himself.
Hey, yo, folks, what is happening?
Alright, so we're going to be opening up the segment as we normally do, talking about the news, and then we're going to go to our discussion portion where it's going to be just me and Soundout. So, for our lit list this week, so you know what everything we're doing and what we're talking about, we're going to be briefly addressing the Kamen Rider Zi-O scans, the upcoming Shotaro Ishinomori TV film. We're going to be looking at the actual Space Sheriff Shider Blu-ray collection that is coming out. There's going to be 3 sets, so we'll be talking about those individual sets coming up. The next Super Sentai Artisan release in the actual Super Sentai Artisan line, and then we'll be looking at the 7th wave of Power Morphicon guests. And, just a little spoiler alert, there's more guests still to be announced. This isn't done yet, and we're almost there. We're like 3 weeks away, people. And our final piece, which is hosted by just me and Soundout exclusively, we are going to be talking about Ultraman X, as well as what does Soundout like and not like about the Ultra franchise. So, first off, everyone, let's talk about a bit of Zi-O. Zi-O is our newest Kamen Rider. We have had toy scans, we have had Gamba Rising leaks, and like I said, we're going to be talking more about the entire catalog in our next episode. Myself, Visible Ninja, Soundout, and even Darkon if he chooses to join us. So what we're going to address right now is the fact that the concept is, instead of having an AM and PM form, we're going to have 2 separate riders, Kamen Rider Zi-O, Kamen Rider Gates. They use the Jiku driver and the ride watches to activate their armor time rider armor. Now, Zi-O comes from the year 2018, which is the present day, and Gates will allegedly come from the future from the year 2066 or 2068. So, Visible Ninja, what are your brief thoughts on the concept of Zi-O thus far?
Okay, without going into too much detail, like I said, the whole clock motif for a rider, it's kind of cool, and it's kind of funny, because I remember back in the lead up to Decade, that was actually literally the rumor, is that he was going to be, have a clock motif, and the different, like the minute and the hour hand, essentially, were going to take different positions for different riders. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way, but we're kind of sort of actually getting that now. Yeah. And of course, the idea of having like a present rider and then a future rider who actually does look quite a bit different. Like, it's going to be an interesting. And then, like, there's the stuff themselves and the rider armors, and we'll, go a little bit more into detail about those later. But, like, I'll just say quickly that I do like most of the designs I've seen. They look like the riders they're supposed to be, but they also add like elements from that series as well to the armor, which makes perfect sense. So, yeah.
And it leads us to a lot of Ben 10 jokes, which you'll probably hear in the next episode. So let's move on to our next topic, which is still about Kamen Rider, as there is going to be, during the actual, 24-hour Love Saves the Earth charity broadcast in Japan, a TV movie / biopic about Shotaro Ishinomori's early life, starring Kento Nakajima. Now, this is going to depict the early years of Ishinomori's life when he had issues with his dad, but also had the support of his loving sister, which led him into becoming the great mangaka artist that we know him for. The movie is going to be written by Mitsunori Fukuhara, who did Bloody Chainsaw Girl. I think he did the live-action movie, which starred Ryo Uchida from Kamen Rider Drive, and it's going to be directed by Norio Yoshi Sakuma. So, Visible Ninja, what are your thoughts on this film that is going to air on television on August 25th?
Well, like I said, it's definitely going to be a hell of a story, because it is focusing on a pretty important part of his life. Like we've said, it's going to focus, when he's a young man, struggling, I guess you could say, to find his voice, and, to break into the mangaka his family issues because of course it's a Japanese piece of fiction, of course, well, non-fiction, I guess, but basically family issues, how his sister inspired him, and I guess really just how he kind of got things going to eventually create, these series that so many people love, like years later, like Cyborg, 009, like Kamen Rider, and of course, he helped create Super Sentai. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what helped form, Ishinomori to the man that we kind of knew him as a bit later.
Yeah, no, I look forward to this, and I hope that it doesn't deviate too much from the man's actual life during that time, but you don't really know what they're going to do and what changes are probably going to be made for the sake of drama. But let's talk about another tokusatsu series that Ishinomori made, or at least helped found, and starred a Tsuburaya, per se, as it starred Hiroshi Tsuburaya, who was the nephew of Eiji Tsuburaya, starring as Dai Sawamura, Space Sheriff Shida. So we're going to get a 3 Blu-ray disc set, one that is episodes 1 through 16, 1 through 17 to 33, and the one that is 34 to 49, which is funny that it has a few more episodes than Space Sheriff Gavin. Each of these sets are going to be roughly about 22,100 yen, with the first set to release on November 2nd. The second release, I should say, set for January 9th, 2019, and another set for March 6th, 2019. So these sets are coming out in increments of 2 to 3 months apart from one another, and overall, I gotta say, it's, standard Japanese pricing, but I still look forward to the fact that we might get, fan subs of these. What's your take on this?
Yeah, definitely kind of very steep Japanese prices, since you're paying like north of 200 for essentially like 16 episodes of a tokusatsu from like the early 80s, actually. I almost said 90s, but again, it's kind of the norm for the Japanese market. So yeah, and I'm definitely hoping that that some fan sub groups maybe pick it up, because Shider is kind of unappreciated. Well, underappreciated, I should say, but because most people know it mainly because of word of mouth, and obviously people are more interested, more familiar with the Next Generation film, I guess, by this point. Which is unfortunate, because Shider is actually a pretty decent show. It might not be for everybody, but you could say that for all the Space Sheriff shows, if you know what I mean. And not to mention, we get to see more of Annie, gunslinging cowgirl.
Yeah, no, I just look forward to it, especially because, most fans here in the West know it for being the source material for our boy, VR Trooper Ryan Steele's second form in the second season, so I would like to eventually see it entirely. I saw it once before, but it was all raw and poor quality. I mean, the worst of the worst. But let's move on to that Super Sentai Artisan news, which actually took a lot of people by surprise, since it kind of went in order of Power Ranger seasons of Jew Ranger to Dai Ranger to Kaku Ranger, but then we somehow magically skipped and went all the way to Mega Ranger, where we're getting Digitizer Battle Riser Mega Real Edition. Now, this Mega Real Edition will feature the fact that both devices will have music from the show, actual voice recognition abilities, dialogue from 3 returning actors, which is Mega Red Hayato Oshiba, Satoru Saito, who was Professor Ikichi Kubota, as well as Mega Silver Shigeru Kanai. So we'll have their actual voices in this thing, projecting dialogue. You'll have actual abilities to converse with the actual henshin device, and you'll have the ability to summon the frickin' mecha, as well as you will have a little pedestal to recreate the Super Galaxy Mega cockpit, as well as alternative straps to wear it. Pre-orders for this item is already open, and since it's already open, prices for it are 12,500 yen. However, due to middleman services, they're a little bit more expensive. So Visible Ninja, what's your thoughts with all the features built into this set and its price?
Lord, it's definitely a surprise that they're going Mega Ranger But hey, I'm not complaining because, like we've discussed before, the secondary prices for either the Digirizer or the in space morpher is a bit on the high side.
They
So
range for the North American release
mhm,
anywhere between $40 to $60, Japanese
yeah,
60 to 100.
yeah. So hopefully, the availability of a newer, kind of more full-featured version will help bring down the prices for those on the aftermarket. Because Lord knows, actually, I wouldn't mind one, punching in 335 and such. But the fact it's going to have like a bunch of other features, new voice lines by members of the cast. You get the Battle Razor, which unfortunately won't, make you super buff and give you like a weird bird mode. It'll just, make you stronger. since this is Sentai, this ain't no Battleizer. It's a Battle Riser because there's an A in there. It's definitely awesome. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw the Digiphone at some point because, I mean, why not? And hopefully it still plays the little 8-bit beefy version of the Megaranger song, even though it could actually have the actual song in there. And yeah, so definitely looking forward to it, if not for just maybe lowering the price of an in space morpher on the secondary market.
Yeah, no, I just look forward to this. If I one day have the chance to purchase one, I would like to get one, but I'm also very skeptical due to the fact that Super Sentai Artisan releases in the past have had significant issues with quality control. If anyone recalls the incidents of the actual order changes, actual
Oh
SP
yeah.
license, those were a problem. But nevertheless, though, let's talk about the last bit of news we have for this week, which is actually Power Morphicon Wave 7. And as we said earlier on in this episode, there's still more people to be announced. So for day 0, there's going to be Austin St. John, where on day 0, if you pay like $50 to $100, you get to go on this little bus ride tour to places where they shot the show, including the House of Book, which is the actual building they, sourced for the command center. And besides that, you'll also, just get to meet Austin St. John. There's also from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Johnny Young Bosch for the entire event. You also have Bulk, who is Paul Schreier, as well as Danny Wayne, who is a stunt actor from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2 in Space. We also have from Power Rangers Mystic Force, Richard Branacansano, who was Xander. I'm apologizing now for, killing that guy's name, but, I mean, it's a really kind of hard name to pronounce otherwise. We also have the writer from Ninja Storm to RPM, John Telegen, as well as prolific anime and Super Sentai, or I shouldn't say Super Sentai, Power Rangers voice actor, Lex Lang, because he is Louis Kaboom, Rygog, Zanaku, and Ecliptor. But speaking of Super Sentai, we actually are going to have Super Sentai guests, as we have Hisashi Sakai, the younger Burai in Zyuranger, who also played Ko the following year as Kiba Ranger. Then we also have Teruyuki Ogawa, Sasuke Ninja Red from Kaku Ranger, and Hyuga from Ginga Man. Hyuga was actually the second Bull Black. And then we also have Yasuhiro Takayuchi, who is a stunt actor since Mask Man to right now, as he is performing as Lupin Blue. Visible Ninja, what are your thoughts on all of these crazy announcements?
Well, obviously, getting a suit actor over here, especially a current one, is kind of interesting. Obviously, since he's gonna provide his own kind of take on the whole thing, since he has been a stunt slash suit actor for really like quite a while, like you said, since Mask Man. So yeah, he goes way back, and yeah, he's currently Lupin Blue on Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger. So it's gonna be interesting to see any stories or what he has to say. Definitely interesting that we're getting Ko over here, since I always kind of like Ko, as rambunctious young kid who kind of used his powers kind of as a kid would, at the time, to do very kid-like things. So that's kind of cool. Getting Sasuke, Teruyuki Ozawa, yeah, that's definitely awesome. Definitely was expecting to get Ogawa. I'm sorry, Teruyuki Ogawa. I'm sorry, but definitely cool to be getting one of the Kaku Rangers. Definitely kind of hoping that they might also announce Satomi Hirose, who of course was Tsuruhime, since she's not only Bae, but I actually like her as one of my favorite Kaku Rangers. And it would be just kind of cool to have like I guess you could say the red, point of view character from Kaku Ranger, as well as the kind of de facto leader who was Tsuruhime. So that would actually be pretty dang awesome. And not to mention the whole thing with Austin St. John doing the little kind of tour, even going to the House of the Book, is actually pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it is like a little, I guess you could say, like affiliated event essentially, but it sounds like a hell of a thing. And if I was there and if I had the cash, I would definitely go on it, because it would be kind of awesome to go around with Austin to some of these places that they filmed at. So yeah, definitely some solid announcements.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking forward to majority of the stuff that isn't Zero Day, because I don't want to really spend my money on that, unfortunately, because I just think it's just a little ridiculous. Plus, I think I wouldn't want to be crammed together with a bunch of people I don't really know, like that on a bus. Like, I'm okay with it being like, in the convention center, but like on a bus would be a little too absurd for me, to be honest with everyone. One thing I do look forward to though the most is the fact that we got Ogawa. Like, I was begging, I was pretty much hoping this man would be here, and lo and behold, they're like, Ogawa's here. And I got so freaking excited when they said that, because I've always loved him as Sasuke in Kakurenja, and I've always loved him as Hyuga in Gingaman. Like, he's one of the highlights of both of those shows. And on top of that, you have it that, like, there's the possibility that we have more Sentai actors coming that I've heard. No, I haven't heard who's coming. I just heard that there are more people that have not been revealed that are from Japan, and I'm hoping one of them is Satomi Hirose. I'm hoping that one of them is Kirin Ranger and his twin brother, since they were both in Dai Ranger, as well as they were both in Kaku Ranger together, as well as
Blackbeat and Bluebeat.
Exactly, so I could have my figure art signed by them. But I'm very doubtful that they might show up, but they could. You never know. You never know,
exactly.
I'm hoping that another announcement, and this is just one that I know probably Zillner and the team probably couldn't afford, but if they did pull it out of their ass, I would lose my effing mind. And if they're like, oh yeah, here comes Ken Kosogi, I think I would, like, die of a heart attack. Like, if they're like, hey, here's Kane freaking Kosogi, I'm gonna be like, nah, this ain't real life. This ain't real. Nah, fam, this can't be true. This has to be imaginary, man. Like, I would be, like, losing my effing mind. Another thing that I would like them to announce, which I don't really know if they would announce, but it's going out on a limb here. It's another, like, what if of who could they get or who should they get. But I would be very delighted if they could also confirm if we got, like, say, Ginga Pink, because she's been doing some, she's been doing, like, a little few meet and greets in Japan too. So, like, if they could at least get, like, Satomi and Seiya's actor, I'd be, like, so happy, because, it's both of his questionable love interests in the show, from both of their shows. So it'd be like, oh my god, we could do they could do an improv, like, joke, like, he's my man. No, he's my man. Whose man is he?
Well, hey, he was married to Tsuruhime in Go-Sager.
I know, like, we could make, like, oh my god, that'd be, like, the funniest joke ever, though. But still, I look forward to it, and I'm just so delighted that they're coming, and it just makes the trip so much better now. Nevertheless, though, let's move on to our actual main discussion with me and Soundout, discussing Ultraman, and does Soundout like it or does Soundout hate it? Nevertheless, though, let's move on. Alright, and now we're on to our main discussion this week, where you're going to hear yours truly, Wheelchair 21, and Soundout 12, and this main discussion is going to be majority of the entire episode. It's called Soundout Tries Ultraman, and What Will He Try Next? Since we finally got Soundout to watch Ultraman, and the first series that we actually got him to sit down and watch it in its entirety was one of the more recent series in the new generations of Heroes saga, Ultraman X. It is the series that follows Ginga/Ginga X, and it was the first one to be simulcasted on Crunchyroll. So, Soundout, where should we begin, since this is your true genesis into the Ultra franchise, since you've seen the original, you just like it because it's old, kaiju style, but you're not fully in love with it or invested in it. So, how do you want to begin, since this is kind of all about you and introducing yourself to a colorful series?
Colorful series where everyone is primarily red and silver.
Pretty much. I mean, he originally wanted it to be blue.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Oh yeah, one of the real reasons he couldn't do blue was because they were afraid that the sky background would blend in too much with the suit when projected in color on television.
That also makes a lot of sense. Where should I begin with this? Because, let's see,
Probably maybe start with your original opinions on the Ultra franchise before you started kind of becoming more lenient towards X.
Okay, so my experience with Ultraman pretty much stemmed from, I slightly remember Foxbox airings of TaJa, and I had watched part of the original series when I picked up the DVD set for like $8 on Amazon or whatever. And really, like, I think that my overall perception of the franchise was something that was kind of old, kind of like out of date, more kaiju than superhero, and just kind of like a general concept of a Toku franchise I really didn't want to follow that closely. It also got kind of daunting because of how long the series has been going and how many episodes and how many movies and all that. So I just didn't feel like wanting to get into it, especially when they, still had Rider and Sentai and Garo to watch, which I still do. But I think what happened with Ultraman was that I've heard about it for so long and was hearing about Ultraman Rube coming up, and I kind of like, I wanted to see something. And I was out of town for 3 weeks, and I was like, okay, well, I can't watch Gingaman because those DVDs are back home. I can't watch Kamen Rider Ryuki because that's files back home. I can't watch, the Garo Gaiden movies because those are back home. What am I gonna watch? Because I want some Toku, and I was like, all right, which of the Ultraman Toku series should I watch? Wheelchair, and he said Ultraman X. And I said, all right, let's just go with
Even though I was
X.
very hesitant on it.
You were very hesitant. And I think that X is a good starting point for the Ultra franchise because it's one of the shortest episode counts and only 22 actual episodes in a movie. And it also isn't good enough to start you out wrong where everything else seems to pale in comparison. But it's also not bad enough to turn you off from the franchise as a whole.
Yeah, because, like I explained to you, that the real reason a lot of these, I should say, New Age Ultraman fans got into the show is, 1, Crunchyroll was simulcasting it. 2, it wasn't too Showa where people were disconnected, and it wasn't too, I guess you would say, late Heisei, like, where it wouldn't feel like it was just kind of flash in the pan kind of style, because when, as a longer, Ultra fan, you have the style of basic Showa, early Heisei, moderate Heisei, like, past the 2000 mark to, I would say, Mabius, and then you don't really have anything for, like, 4 or 5 years. Like, you had the Mega Monster Battles, you had the Zero movies, and then you got Ginga, which was kind of a flop. Ginga S was, moderately, good as it went back to the way of old, and then you had X, and X is like that good jumping point to get into the franchise, but the problem was a lot of these people who saw this show and finally saw Ultraman in the light that it should be seen in, drastically do latch to the show as thinking it's like the next best thing or the greatest thing they'll ever see. It's kind of gotten that Gokaiger, Kamen Rider double, aesthetic to it, you know what I'm saying? It's that thing where a lot of the new generation of Ultraman fans who finally got into the franchise through X latch on as believing it to be the epitome of Ultraman, but the problem is the epitome of Ultraman are actually a variety of shows these people have shunned for years and have yet to touch, you know what I'm saying? But yet they've been technically either fan-subbed or distributed to North America on more than one occasion. Right,
and I think that a lot of times when you get into a franchise in its later years, it's hard to go back to the early years unless you're really invested. And I think for a lot of people, they're not super invested into Ultraman. Because I can definitely say that I'm not super invested yet. I haven't hit that. I haven't hit that point where I just want to go. Yeah, let me go look at all the Ultra series.
Like, the thing that I was telling you, and you kind of started realizing it too, because I was emphasizing who you were, was that the problem I see now is that if you haven't gotten into Ultraman yet, and when I mean by yet, I mean by either Ultraman Zero's debut, which was the Mega Monster Galaxy, the movie or whatever, and then you go to around X or Orb when it started coming on to Crunchyroll, if you are getting into it like anywhere at that point on, you're going to end up having a huge disconnect where you may not even be able to ever go back, because you see it quite a few times with our Kamen Rider fans. You see it with quite a lot of Super Sentai fans, that for Rider fans, there are like these weird people who have like this weird stick up their ass that say they're never going to watch a Showa series at all, or not a Showa series that isn't black to, you know, the trilogy films, I should say, you know, like the last.
Which technically Black is the only one of those that Showa RX onward it actually takes place in the Heisei era.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that a lot of these people, there's a lot of people who say they won't watch Showa, they'll only watch Black onwards. There are people who are like, oh, I don't watch Sentai that's, you know, past Jetman or past Live Man. And there's like this very huge like area where now we have a lot of Ultraman fans where they either don't want to go back or they don't see themselves going back and just go, oh, I'm just going to look towards the future. I'm just going to keep enjoying what comes out. I'm just going to keep watching that. And honestly, this is one of those things where I feel like there is an issue not with what the shows are doing and that the shows are too old. I just think that there's a problem with the modern people of today where they're having issues going backwards and watching stuff rather than vice versa of going forwards. And
I think that's a bad perception that comes up, is that there's like a weird stigma that says, oh, if it was done in the show era, it must suck, it's old. And it's like, no. In fact, that, you know, this is me personally, I much prefer Showa era Kamen Rider to modern Kamen Rider by like a long shot. Like I never have trouble watching a Showa era Kamen Rider series, aside from the fact that a lot of them don't have subs, but like modern Kamen Rider is just not the same thing. And I think a lot of people think that a lot of Showa Kamen Rider is episodic, but it is episodic. You don't have like overarching plots, but instead you have better developed characters because each episode develops a character.
Yeah, no, like that's the thing that is kind of an issue, is that like it's just a stigma in general that, oh, because, you know, they didn't have a budget and the suits look campy, that means the shows aren't good. That, I mean, I do have issues watching some Ultra series because of that, but sometimes it's also because when you watch these shows, my issue with certain Ultra series and episodes sometimes is that they try to make the show so serious, but then the monster looks too campy, so it neglects what the plot or the moral of the story is because you're laughing too much. But then over the time, you kind of look through that and you still have fun with the show. Because, I mean, there's an episode of the original Kamen Rider Ichigo where they blow up the Alamo with a tumbleweed. Like...
Oh, that's like my favorite episode.
That's like my favorite episode to point out that Rider was just as stupidly bad as, you know, Subaraya Productions and Ultra series sometimes. You know, there's so many things that the Showa era did. Like, here's a good example. People are like, oh, Super Sentai's never done anything stupid. Go watch Five Man. A majority of Five Man is really stupid. Like, the plots that the villains have are just like, hey, let's get the whole world drunk. And it's like, excuse me? What?
Yeah, no, that's like, it really is like a lot of Showa is just really bizarre. And I do understand if you try Showa era series and just can't get into them, but if you say that you're not going to watch Showa and you don't have a good reason for it, I implore you to at least watch something. Like, I don't really care what it is, but if you're going to watch something, like, off the top of my head, if you're going to watch a Showa Kamen Rider series, check out V3. If you're going to watch a Showa Sentai series, watch Live Man. If you're going to check out a Showa Ultraman series, Ultra 7 probably.
Yeah, I'm going to say this right now. Either just watch the original Ultraman, but I think Ultra 7 is like the marquee vintage Showa franchise. Like, even if it's to the degree that Japanese fans hold Seven at the highest pinnacle of the Showa era. Like, he is the most popular, he is the most famous of the Showa franchise that isn't Shodai Ultraman. You know what I'm saying? The fact that
That's kind of how V3 is.
yeah, he's literally like that. And Seven in degrees is popular in, you know, Hawaii, which is a huge thing for like V3 too. Think about that in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But Seven also has two North American dubs that are outside the Hawaiian dub. There's two different dubs for it. The one that aired on Turner, and then there's like another lost dub that I discovered recently that's in association with, I think, the Hawaiian guys, but it wasn't the direct Hawaiian guys. But what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of stuff that goes on leading into like why there's a disconnect, why going in there and moving forward. Because like honestly, it's
Well,
just
I will say this
incredible.
much.
Like there's so much in the franchise. It's just like Showa Rider and that there's so much there that a lot of people are missing.
Another Showa series that's not connected to a franchise is Kaiketsu Zubat. A lot of people there's like several people watching it on Toku Twitter recently. Kaiketsu Zubat is one of the most insane shows you'll see, but it's also one of the most fun, sincere, surprisingly dark Showa series. And because it's not connected to a franchise, it's, you know, in and out in like 35 episodes.
Yeah, it's actually like how I enjoy certain other Tsuburaya productions that are like non-Ultraman based. Like they still have like some residual elements of an Ultra to the show and the aesthetic, but they do a lot of great like one-offs, you know, that they then kind of reference in the modern era by making kaiju, aliens, and heroes based off of their earlier designs, like how all of Ultraman Zero's allies are based on former Tsuburaya heroes, you know, like Mirror Knight is based on, I think Mirror Man, Glenn Fire is based on, I think the guy had the same name as him too. So it's like most of them have either same names or name changes, you know, for these, you know, modern tellings of these, you know, heroes from back in the Showa era. And there's other, you know, non-Tsuburaya, non-Toei characters that will be, you know, stuff that people will latch onto. But like I said, I think when it comes to wanting to watch a new Ultraman, you got to start with X or Orb. But if you want to watch something that's even older to start, we'll talk about that when we talk about what will Soundout possibly want to choose next. But so you finally got into X, like we said, and go through like you know just viewing it and stuff like that, I guess.
So X was kind of a rocky road for me, because when I started the show, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm really digging this. It's a nice change of pace from Rider Sentai Garo. This is awesome. Like, I'm digging it. A few episodes in, I was like, all right, this is okay. I'm starting like, all right, come on. You had me hooked with how different you are, but now you're just kind of following in the same old thing. Then there was like a string of really clever episodes, and then there was like a really rushed finale that honestly kind of put me off, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I want to watch another Ultra series. Then I got to Ultra 7, or I'm not Ultra 7X, sorry. Ultraman X, the movie, and it kind of felt like the missing 23, 24, and 25th episodes of the show. And like, I just really enjoyed that movie because I felt like it was doing cool new stuff. It was having a lot of fun. It was just a blast. And I felt like by the end of that, I was like, I feel satisfied with Ultraman X. I want to see more Ultraman now.
Yeah, no, because as a longtime fan watching the show, there were elements of the choice of characters and actors that looked like, oh shit, this looks like a really good Ultraman series, just from how it started. When you look at its cast and actors as the show was starting, I mean, you had Yukimiyo as their commander, and I was like, oh shit, Maki, and it's without him trying to act like a nerd, it's actually the actor, like how he looks, how he is in real life, you know, very stoic, badass mofo. I was like, this is gonna work. You see...
Which he was in Amazon's.
Then you see a lot of these pseudo no-name actors to Tokusatsu. One of them became Kamen Rider Snipe eventually, but you see a lot of these like kind of no-name actors, and you're like, oh, these guys look like real supporting actors, real people you would see working in a Ultra series, alien kaiju defense organization. But then you kind of had the protagonist, like, who connects to the Ultra, which is Daichi, and Daichi is kind of a really weak protagonist. And one of the issues with the show was the fact that X latches into his X divisor to talk to him, and like they have this kind of like, I would say, Deno and the Imagine kind of style where they kind of argue and bicker with each other. But the issue I had was that I feel like it should have been more of the Deno Imagine style of him being actually inside of him, which they did borrow the idea when they did Ultraman Geed for Zero latching to Lito, or Raito, whatever you would prefer to call him. So I feel like I really wanted to see more from Daichi and X being one than them being separate, because with X being in the X divisor, I was really expecting there to be a Gridman episode, but there wasn't a Gridman episode. Just because of the aesthetic of, him being a cybernetic, like, Ultra in the franchise. He, like, hides inside of an electrical device. He has, weird electrical designs when he shoots his beams. And he also, has, like, tech-based, like, headphones for ears. So, going into the show, like, I had a weird expectation that we were going to see Gridman. I had expectations that we were going to see a lot of interesting aspects. And one of the things that took me by surprise was the fact that this series is a giant crossover event where it's like, oh, hey, I'm meeting up with all these several other Ultras. We had a lot of, I would say, pseudo-new kaiju appear, old kaiju appear, and just a lot of stuff that built up the lore. And what I think ruined the show at times was its very episodic Ultra Q style, where it would be like these just weird coincidences that were occurring and they just had to go in to investigate, like on a week-to-week basis. And then there would be episodes that were tying to what led to the solar flares that awoke the Spark Dolls, what awoke the kaiju years ago. And then there was this whole, the fact that the prelude or the fat prologue is shown in the opening credits almost every episode of X defeating Grieza and shoving him into the sun, which makes you go, oh, he's not really dead. But then when he comes back, there's no real build-up. It's just he's back and he wants to fuck shit up. And then X is like, well, let's go beat his ass. And then he beats his ass, and it feels just, so uneventful, because it's like, we only have 2 episodes left, so we have to do it now. Where they could have actually saved it for the movie, but it would have been a middle finger to, one, your international fan base, as well as even people in Japan who would have to pay to go see the finale for your show.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is, like, I will say there's a couple episodes I just love. Like, there was one where it was a fake news program following the, escapades of Zi-O. And there was another episode with the lieutenant trying to save her kids and ends up becoming Ultraman Nexus. And I thought that was really cool. But other than that, it's like, yeah, it was very episodic for being such a short series. Like, it didn't seem to have, like, its own narrative. It kind of felt Showa-esque in that regard, but because it wasn't Showa, it didn't feel like it should have happened that way.
Yeah, because this is where I'm going to say it tried to be like TaJa, but unlike TaJa, where there were a lot of foreshadowings about what was the great evil that was going to come, even though the foreshadowings weren't that great in hindsight, but still overall there's very numerous things that were going to lead to the endgame of TaJa. This endgame was only built up on like 4 different occasions, and it was spread across the entirety of the show, because you had the solar flares at the beginning, you had the light experimentation, then you had when they got Cyber Gamora, tracing back to the beginning of the show. Then you jump ahead again when he gets his, final form, and then you get the Grieza finale, and even then you assume that they were going to find a way to bring back his parents, and it's like, no, your parents are dead. They are, like, stuck in cyberspace for the rest of eternity. You're never seeing your family again, so you better,
They pulled a Go Busters.
Yeah, they kind of just abruptly, like, kind of vaguely go, yeah, no, your parents are dead. Your parents got Go Busted, so now you better just go make babies with Asuna, since Asuna wants the D. And it's a good thing, because your name starts with a D, Daichi. So, like, that's the one thing I can kind of say. Like, a lot of my favorite episodes are 4 through 8, 11 to 15, and then 20 to 22. And most of that is because we had crossover events. We had Zero. We had Ultraman Max, who ironically is one of my most hated series, but the way they reintroduced Max into the franchise was incredible. We had the Ginga Victory crossover. We had the Nexus
That was
crossover,
fantastic.
And then we had the finale, I think one of the best elements about their crossover is that it ties to the Ultra Fight Victory spin-off, where he fights the one of the brothers of the Gwar siblings. And this is a funny thing. This is a reference to Mirror Knight, if I recall, which was at one time, Zophie in disguise. So this was a reference to an alternate universe that Zophie was in. They brought back the characters, and one of them was played by freaking Kamen Rider Malika.
Because she's in everything.
But yeah, no, I think when it comes to the overall show, I think that it does have that Showa feel that people needed to have to get introduced to the franchise. But I also felt like for only having 22 episodes, it could have been episodic, but still had some foreshadowing where it was going to end at. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those ones where, at least with Ultraman Orb, the series that you have yet to see, there's more build-up to its bigger events, but they put in the quotational filler episodes in the wrong spots.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like, we're just making it like a slice of life series and throwing in some groundbreaking developing moments when you least expect it. I don't know what else I can add to it other than my input on actually being like a longtime fan and comparing it to other series, but like, I don't know, you got anything else to say specifically for the show, characters, development, yada yada yada?
No, but I think that a lot of the characters were really shallow. I kind of felt like the whole show in general was kind of shallow.
No, they are. Like I think the character that has a lot of the most development is really like technically Daichi. Like X tries to make him stop being a wuss. His own like little girlfriend Asuna tries to make him stop being a wuss. The most badass captain is Kamaki, and then they really kind of don't do much with freaking Hayato and Wataru, because like there's like an episode, like in episode 4 they make it that these two have like this weird friendship where like they become like typical Japanese like Yamato and Taichi syndrome, where they just fight for the sake of fighting, but they don't have any build up to it. It just happened and you're like, oh, so you have that kind of relationship. Oh, okay, I guess that's the thing. And you're just like, wow, it's abrupt. Like there's just a lot of abruptness, and I think it's also because they had too many characters in a show that they couldn't afford to.
For a show that was only 22 episodes long, there were way too many characters.
Like the fact that the alien, which is just one giant suit, had a better character than a majority of the task force. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, Professor Gurumon is probably one of the best characters in that show, too, because of the whole infamous episode when he discovers that Daichi is Ultraman X. Daichi just transforms jumping over him, and then Zero shows up, and he's like, oh shit, what up?
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
And don't forget the best part about the Zero, and I should say the Zero, the Ginga, and Victory ones are the fact that their theme songs actually played in the show, unlike Max and Nexus. I was a little upset Nexus did not get his theme song to play.
Yeah, that was something too that made me happy with the Zero crossovers, because I actually watched Zero's first movie. Don't ask me why I did, I just did. But yeah, so it's like one of those things where it's like I recognize Zero, so it was like, oh, yay, Zero's back. So like I understand that feeling, but I also didn't like feel any reason to go watch Ultraman Max, but I kind of want to watch Ginga.
Yeah, no, here's the funny thing. Watching Max, as I've told you, it's one of those shows where you'll like it, but you'll also hate it on the aspect of there's no real story, but yet there is a story, but it's like Masters of Horror. There's just too many cooks on this project at the same time, and that's what makes the show magical, but it also makes the show terrible. Like in a production aspect, it's the only show you'll ever see like a bunch of great directors and writers making episodes about Ultraman, and you would want to see more of their take specifically on Ultraman, but then like you have to like try to tie it all together as one full-fledged story, and it just goes nowhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those ones where it just kind of feels like it goes nowhere.
Yeah, totally.
And it's supposed to be, them just working together to make a show, and it's like, no, it doesn't work. It just doesn't frickin' work, and it annoys the hell out of me. But, no, with watching Ginga and Ginga Victory, you're probably going to watch Ginga, not like Ginga, but fall in love with Ginga S, because that is a true thing that will happen to most fans. A lot of fans out there do say that Ginga is the lackluster start to a seemingly good show once you get Ginga S, because Ginga S completely is like, well, let's kind of pretend that most of Ginga doesn't exist, but still make it canon. And then, yeah, it's weird. It's like really weird. It's almost like how like in Gundam where you have the first 25 episodes and it's like this cool awesome story, but then the next 25 episodes like the falling action arc is like completely nothing like the first arc and you're just so disappointed.
That only happens when we have a season break, like when with like Double O and Iron Blooded Orphans.
I mean, we technically had that in Wing, but Wing didn't have a season break, but yet it happened in Wing.
This is true. I think it's hard to land a 50-episode show than it is a 25-episode show.
Yeah, but that's what I gotta say, because I mean, like, when it comes to that, it's just interesting, and I also do like to say that I'm glad you liked the actual Nexus episode, because there was also a homage to the original series at the very, very end by, you know, Tachibana's husband being a former, I think he was a former host of Nexus.
That's pretty cool, though. I think that's a great connection point, too. But yeah, I really like the Nexus episode. I thought that was one of the best episodes of the series.
Yeah, it literally was one of the best episodes of the series, and then, like, it made people go, like, wow, who's this guy? And then they, like, went and watched Nexus on Crunchyroll, and they were like, holy shit, this is pretty dark. I understand now why it was canceled. But, so you liked Ultraman X. So, looking back, like, what are some other things that you liked or didn't like about the show? Because I know you were talking to me about how you really hated a character that even I technically hate, which was M1.
Yeah, and, like, I think it, not only that character, but, like, the general problem of the show relying on old kaiju designs, especially ones, like, and especially, like, alien designs where there was just like, oh, look, it's a dude in a bodysuit with an alien head. Like, I get that it's supposed to be referencing the past, but I just don't like it. It just takes me out of the show because it looks so cheap and tacky. It's just like it looks so old in a show that's so modern. It was like a weird clash of art styles, and I didn't really like it that much.
Yeah, because, like, I know, like, with M1 and certain aliens, when they did show up as, like, hiding out amongst the humans, you were like, that was kind of bad. Like, some of them make sense if they're in suits, like, in later installments, like, they're actually part of, like, you know, like, a government-based, you know, operation, you know, like Men in Black. But, like, yeah, it was kind of weird when they did it with X, because they were like, oh, yeah, we're all, like, mobsters and gangsters, but then, like, you go to Ultraman, like, at Orb, and, you know, you go to, like, say, Geed, and you have, like, you know, Alien Shadow Zena. Alien Shadow Zena works for, like, the Men in Black of, you know, this universe's, you know, alien protection agency, so it makes sense why he wears a suit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, and then, like, there was a few kaiju where I was like, oh, these look great, like Gomorrah, Ella King, Red King, but then there's other ones where I was just like, that just looks old and cheap. And that's not what we need in this series anymore. We can be better than this.
I have a feeling one of those ones that you were referencing is Tesseldon, because Tesseldon just looks like a giant mulling lizard worm thing. Because I'm trying to look at all the other kaiju that were in there, and I can't really remember which ones exactly were in there that were, like, cheap. Like, I feel like some of the cheap ones are, like, ones that even I'm forgetting were even in the show at this point. And other ones are, like, all the good ones, and I'm like, wait, what? Because, like, they did actually have, I think, like, 4 or 5 original kaiju suits in this series, but not enough, you know? Like, every show gets, like, maybe 4 or 5 new kaiju, and then, you know, they get reused in the following series, and then that following series has maybe 2 or 3 new kaiju, and it goes on and 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 goes on. But, I think that's one of the issues, that the budget, they don't have the budget to make a full-fledged new suit. They only have a budget to remake older suits or fix
and then,
up, you know,
like, hawk a bunch of toys.
Yeah, pretty much. Because, I mean, the fact that they had to remake an original suit for Gomez, I think, back during Ultra Galaxy Mega Monster Battle, which was, like, 2009, and now he's been reused at least almost every year since then, is still kind of incredible, you know? The fact that they had to remake a brand new suit, still make it look similar to a Godzilla suit, and bam, you got Gomez.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, you got anything else you got to say? I mean, like, we're kind of, like, treading on, you know, old footprints, I guess you could say. Like, you know, we're kind of circling around back to where we kind of began, but, I guess like overall, it's like one of those series like it meets that standard, and I think because it meets that standard perfectly for people to get introduced to it, they're latching on a little too hard to the show. Because I see a lot of people like you know what I'm talking about. You even have a friend who thinks that this is the epitome of Ultraman, and I'm like, nah, this is just like a shell of what it looks like.
It's also the only Ultra series he's ever seen.
Well, yeah, because he's kind of dumb.
Well, anyways, the thing I think that, in conclusion, I enjoyed Ultraman X. I am definitely not ready to slap down money for toys for Ultraman. But I'm definitely going to watch another show.
Here's the funny thing. When it comes to Ultraman, sometimes you don't need to buy, like, say, the deluxe roleplay toys. All you gotta do is just spend $5 on a vinyl figure of a kaiju you like. You know what I'm saying? Like, with Ultraman, sometimes it's not about actually having the prop that they transform with. Sometimes it's about just having a connection to a kaiju design, you know?
Yeah, it's either that or I'm just going to end up buying figure arts only. I mean, that's kind of like where I've been leaning to with my collecting anyways.
Because for me, like, I've bought like at least a vinyl or five every couple of years, you know? Like, I just buy a couple of them because it's like they're not going to make figure arts of every kaiju out there, that's for sure.
Right.
Like, for me, like, I know for a fact we're going to find we will get a Tyrant a Tyrant figure art eventually, but that's probably going to be an exclusive due to one, the depth of the character's design, or the kaiju's design, I should say, and probably like how big it's going to end up being, because it's going to be pretty hefty. It's going to be like the size of Shin Godzilla, probably, as a figure art, maybe. Maybe I'm going a little too crazy with that estimation of how tall it's going to be, but it's going to be pretty freaking crazy. Other than that, like, what are shows you want to watch, though, from the franchise now? Because I know we did technically start watching Rube, but Rube hasn't been that impressive. It's even to the extent that I, a longtime series fan, I'm like, the first episode was deeply lacking.
I'm going to watch this show, yeah, kind of felt underwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, so, like, what I'm asking is, like, what other shows would you want to consider watching after this, from your standpoint?
I think my next step is Gridman. Which isn't an Ultra show,
but it's not an Ultra show because he's not Ultraman Gridman. But yeah, I know what you mean. He fits the profile, but he's not. But he is. But
yeah. I've wanted to watch Gridman for years, so I think it's about time.
No, I think it'll work too.
And I think that
it should work.
Yeah, and after that, I'm gonna keep watching Rube each week. I think, just because that saves me trouble of having to watch it later if I want. And I think that. Yeah, I think I'm going to go after Orb next. I think Orb's going to be my next Ultra series.
Alright, now, other than that, you just think that that's all you're going to do? Because I know that you were saying to me that you would do 7 if the home video release was more available. But you'd also said you would do TV.
Right, I mean, the price on the home video release isn't too bad. It's going around $33 right now. I just don't have the money to do it. 7's in my radar.
Yeah, because here's the funny thing I can tell you.
Maybe Prime Day will be kind.
Here's what I'm going to tell you right now is, and this is for people listening, and I've always stated this, that the best way to start with Ultraman is to watch the original Shodai, because it's just fun. It's just good, wholehearted fun. Like, you'll watch it, you'll enjoy it, you'll love it, you'll like it. And then with 7, you'll see that it's a darker side of Ultraman, but it was made during a time where stuff was kind of dark, it was during that late 60s, early 70s vibe where Japan was still looking back at World War II and also looking at the verge of, World War III with the possibility of the Cold War and how that could turn out. And then you get, like, Jack and Ace, Taro and Leo, and it becomes more of a typical kind of, I guess you would say, henshin hero or just shonen hero kind of style to its, vibrance of how the hero works, how the hero fights, does certain aspects to the choreography, and so on and so forth, because at that time they had to also compete with Toei, with Rider, and then eventually Sentai, and other productions that they were doing with Ishinomori. So, I mean, early Showa, you can go immediately with, like, say, Ultra Q, Ultraman, 7. Late Showa, I'd recommend Leo, but you might also want to take a few shots before you watch an episode of Leo, because it's like a glorious mess, because at that moment they were just grasping for straws and dealing with, like, almost, I think, what was it, bankruptcy and like losing their budget at the same time, but still came back from it somehow. And then, you jump about probably a decade and a half later, and you end yourself up with actually 3 incredible Heisei series, even though I only like 2 of the 3, which are, TaJa, Gaia, and Dyna. And I personally like TaJa and Gaia the most. And then you can jump ahead and maybe do like Nexus or Mabius. Those are shows that I think people can watch too, because they're just easy to latch onto. And Mabius, while it is an anniversary series, it doesn't entirely focus on several events from the past, but still connects to the overall lore of what happened from like Ultraman 80 to Shodai Ultraman. It's like one of those anniversary series where like, these characters reappear, but it's not like Gokaiger where like the entire show's nothing more than a giant flat flashback reel of, hey, look who's here and look what they did kind of ordeal. So it's more of like it actually adds to the precedence of the show when they show up, like when Seven shows up, he like gives him his words of wisdom when Shodai shows up, when Jack shows up, when Taro shows up, when Leo shows up and A shows up. They're like, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it, and this is how you're going to fix the problem. And then it leads to them fixing, the problem. And so I think that's what's going to make the show good for a lot of people, is that you get those cameos and it makes sense as to why they're there. So, I don't know what else to say. It's just that Ultraman has a depth to it, but it also doesn't. It's like one of those ones where there's a depth to it, but it also at times doesn't feel like it's as necessary. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those ones where, like, when you start trying to connect the dots, the depth is there because you're trying to figure out how are these shows canon. But at the same time, you can watch certain seasons and not having to have seen prior shows to know what the hell's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and I think that for me, for now, I feel like I'm going to very much be falling into the kind of casual trap of I'm just going to watch what's available out there. There's so much Ultraman that's legally streaming. I'm just going to see, I'm just going to probably just bounce around to what is available legally before I go looking for fan subs or anything. I just kind of want to float through Ultraman, you could say.
Yeah, because, like, ironically, I find it funny now that because there's so much legal stuff as well as fan sub stuff, it's a lot easier, but yet so much harder because there's just so much more of it out there. Whereas when I was, first really being able to watch a lot of these shows, a lot of people who listen to the show already, and you know this for a fact, that I had to watch Ultraman TaJa with like 2 or 3 different types of Spanish subs and dubs. And when I mean like Spanish, I mean like you had Portuguese and Spanish mixed in, you had just plain old Spanish, you had just Portuguese. I had to watch it like that. I had to watch it with like English subs just to watch the entire show in its entirety, uncut from the instead of the Fox box bastardization. And so
because the Fox box rocks.
Like 2 years or 3 years to finally watch all of TaJa. I seen Gaia. I seen like all these shows, but like at the same time, I was missing a whole batch of them because they just weren't readily available. And in due time, a good portion of the shows that weren't readily available are now readily available, but we're still missing 3 significant shows and their subs to make it like say that I've seen almost all of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for people now joining in, there's just so much of it that they have to go and watch it. And it's like, do you have the time to watch it? And I'm like, I think people do have a majority of the time to be able to at least binge quite a lot of it. It's just, will they choose to? Because, don't forget, these episodes were filmed back in the day when shows only ran 20 minutes long, the majority of them. So it's like, you can get a couple of them done in a couple of days, you know what I'm saying? Because I think you can binge the first Ultraman series, which is 52 episodes, in the matter of a couple of days' times, just because...
Actually, it's only 39 episodes.
39 episodes. My bad. The later shows started getting more numerous. But yeah, the first series was 39, and you can shoot through that maybe like if you did it in batches of like 6 to 8, you know what I'm saying? You can get it done in like 4 to 5 days, you know? So overall, like, I think that with Ultraman, it's just like if you watch the shows that are 19 minutes long, you'll get done faster. significantly. And if you skip the openings, you're halfway there.
It's kind of like Showa Sentai and Showa Rider. You get to that certain period of time where shows were only 20 minutes, you can blast through. Like, you'd think that there's not much of a difference between 20 minutes and 24 minutes, but there is. You know, like, watching Showa Sentai is super fun. Like, Live Man was a breeze, Five Man was a breeze. Everything up until Megaranger is, like, under 20 minutes, and it's easy to binge those. It really is.
Yeah, so, like, overall, I think that when it comes to Ultraman, if you want to start now, you do sort of have to start with X and Orb. But if you want to play, like, I guess, Devil's Advocate, or you want to play the Gambit, or you want to play the Roulette, you'll go and you'll try stuff like TaJa, Gaia, Nexus 7, or Shodai. Because, honestly, if you're already used to watching, you know, vintage Tsuburaya productions, and when I mean vintage Tsuburaya productions, I mean when he was working with Toho, doing Godzilla, doing, you know, the early Godzilla films, anything that was associated with Toho, like Rodan, Mothra, like their individual, you know, films before they were amalgamated into the Godzilla saga, or you even watched Daiei's films that Tsuburaya did not work on, but if you still, like, it's a mix between when Tsuburaya went from, you know, feature motion picture films and his budget got a little bit lower, it was like a mix between, like, he was above Daiei's production, but at times it could also feel like Daiei's production. You know what I'm saying? Is that, like, when you go and watch older Ultraman, it's just fun, it's interesting, it's good, and I feel like if you're an old kaiju fan, you can easily just get a hold of Ultraman and be like, oh, this is great, this is awesome. But if you're not even a fan of Godzilla, it's going to be really hard, you know, because there's a lot of these new age Godzilla fans who are like, oh, I hate the, you know, Godzilla, still watching Godzilla when he was a suit, and I'm like, that's a majority of the freaking franchise.
Yeah, even the more modern movies like Heisei Millennium eras.
But yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there are some people that are...
This is why I always tell people, if they're going to start watching Godzilla movies, you start with Return of Godzilla and go forward. And then if you liked all of that, go back and watch the Showa films.
Funny because for me, I'm just like, just go right to the Showa films and watch Return of Godzilla. You don't need to watch the rest of the Heisei.
I know, but the Heisei era can captivate people better because it has an ongoing narrative.
Yeah, that can work too, even though its narrative is flawed. Thanks, Ghidorah.
Yeah, at least each movie kind of flows into the next nicely.
At least tries to.
Millennium Era is just like everybody's a sequel to Gojira.
Like I said, one thing I've noticed though is that if you're not a fan of Godzilla at all, or Godzilla or Gamera or Kaiju, you have an immediate disconnect to Ultraman. There's like an immediate disconnect, and if you don't have a love for those, it's like they're only going to be latched onto mostly the Toei productions or anything that is roughly similar to Toei's more like, you know, basic henshin hero on the ground style, you know what I'm saying? Like, that most of the fights are human size scale, not giant city proportions, even though Sentai does have giant kaiju and kaijin fights, they still fight humanly.
Basically, here's their Toku spectrum here. You have Kamen Rider, the lone hero, fighting on the ground, fighting monsters normal size. You have Sentai, who fights monsters on the ground and monsters at giant size. And then you have Ultraman, which fights monsters only at giant size. It's like the three levels. And then you have Gara, which fights people at night, because the other three series barely fight then.
Yeah, Garo's Batman. Garo's Batman. I'm Batman.
Basically.
And then you had other shows out there that were just, you know, composite knockoffs per se, because the Chosei series, it's like, how can we fuse Super Sentai and Kamen Rider with Ultraman? Ryu Kendo, how can we fuse these Sentai with Rider and Metal Hero? But they're not knockoffs per se, they're just different tokusatsus, but to, you know, the untrained general public, they'll just say they're knockoffs, you know. It's like the actual Chinese knockoffs. They could actually be legit, you know, outsource, like, you know, they're outsourcing to Toei, and you could still call it a knockoff. I've seen so many people call Bima Satria Garuda a knockoff when it's, you know, where it's, what is it, Indonesia outsourcing to Toei for the suits, you know. But that's neither here or there. But like I said, when it comes to Ultraman, there's a lot about it that a lot of people still have not been able to see what's the good about it. And there's others that are just discovering it now, like you. And I think it's just it's a series that I think it really is one of those ones where it connects to people if they've, I think, just came into Tokusatsu when all of it was readily available at one point. You know what I'm saying? When I mean when it was readily for everyone or all of the shows, I mean like when there were fan subs, when they were just terrible Hong Kong subs, more out there on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now we have more legal routes for it, but everyone's ungrateful for it, which is kind of funny. That back then I would kill for all of these official releases, and nowadays everyone's like, "You're killing the fan subs, man." And I'm like, "What?" Like I don't get that ideology, and that's a different discussion.
Look, at the end of the day, fan subs exist to fill a void that the fan subs are there to fill a void that exists. The void being English subtitles for a show. So fans take it upon themselves to translate and subtitle a show. Now, an official release is not killing fan subs, because fan subs essentially are, up until the point where the show is licensed for release in America, fan subs are completely legal until they are licensed. When they are licensed, fan subs become illegal because it is infringing on a copyright that now exists. So, support the official release. The official release may not be as, the subs in an official release can sometimes be different than what your fan subs and you're used to. But if you already have fan subs on your hard drives, they don't have to go anywhere. But supporting the official release opens up the franchise for more possibilities. And the thing is that with Sentai, we get regular DVD releases. With Garo, we get regular Blu-ray releases. With Ultraman, we get regular streaming releases. But in order for those streaming releases to be pretty good, we might start getting home media releases. And for Kamen Rider, if Amazon's does well enough, we might get another Rider show brought over. It's kind of tricky, and the thing is that what we have to do as fans is show the companies in Japan that we want the shows over here officially, and we can get closer to that simulcast of Sentai and Rider that we're looking for. And in order to do that, we have to show the companies that we want it, and the way we show it is with our wallets, not with our fan subs.
You see where I'm coming with this slight tangent is that, when I had to go through all these channels and routes before it was freely, able to get, I was killing and hoping that there was just a better way to do it than having to stream it on video. Because, if your internet goes out, you can't watch those shows. Or if you download it and you have no power, it's like, well, I wouldn't say no power, but I'd say, if you don't have internet, or you didn't have a way to rip the videos off the websites, or you didn't know how to download, because I'm not going to lie, at one point when I first started going on the internet, I didn't know what the hell torrenting was. I didn't know how you did it. I didn't know, the process of what you had to do that, and I, didn't know that you could torrent it and then put it on home video, at one point, but then I learned how to. But what I'm saying is, during those early days, I was killing for more of an official release than feeling like some guy being a scumbag, watching, illegal stuff, because I knew technically it was wrong, but at the same time I was like, well, there's no real copyright, so how is it wrong if there's no copyright for it yet here in the States? But it's like, now we get Sentai DVDs, we get Ultraman streaming, everyone's like, this is bad, and I'm like, are you stupid?
This is fantastic, because we never had it this easy. I have a massive library of tokusatsu on my hard drive only because of a lot of hard work of tracking down torrents and tracking down other files and following different subgroups and trying to keep track of when new episodes come out. And sometimes I don't have full subs. And right now, so the legal releases aren't doing anything that wasn't subbed before, but they're going to eventually. We're going to get to a point, hopefully, where some of the Showa Sentai that have never been fully fan subbed are going to get fully subbed for the first time officially. Turbo Ranger is the closest target. All that Shout has to do is release 5-Man, and Turbo Ranger's next if we're going backwards from Jetman. And that would be amazing. But they're only ever going to get there we actually support the releases with our money.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I'm just saying this right now, is that, like, people need to start realizing, one, support official releases, two, watch more tokusatsu, because if you want to get, say, your franchise noticed, you have to make them realize that they have competition over here that's already thriving. If you're not considering to watch Ultraman or tell people, hey, there's Ultraman, say, like, on Crunchyroll, or promote it, then people aren't going to know to go check it out or try it out. And so it's going to leave that void of, hey, why am I not getting Sentai? Why am I not getting Rider? And if you want to get Rider, if you really, really want to get Rider, you need to start buying more Sentai. You need to start watching Ultraman. You need to start making a friendly competition between these people who are getting the rights to produce and release these shows. So then it makes Toei consider, well, if Sentai's doing good, if Ultraman is doing good, if Garo is doing good, maybe we should put our biggest cash cow that we crazily protect, which is Kamen Rider, and give that a shot. Or let's give them some Metal Hero first before we give them Kamen Rider. And the only way you're going to get that is if you start buying more, if you start sharing it more, if you start helping spread awareness more, and it won't feel as niche as it is. Because I see how in the Kamen Rider and I would say Kamen Rider and Super Sentai fandom, they at this moment seem like the majority of the fandom, but internationally, Kaiju and Ultraman is still largely bigger. But it's one of those things of, it's like more of like, where are you located at which time and which place, given, of who is the majority and who is the minority. Because for years on the internet, when I started, there was more Godzilla and Ultraman like fan sites than there was Power Rangers and Rider. It wasn't until like I noticed Ranger Board, Henshin Justice, Power Rangers Now, formerly, what was it, Ranger Crew? Like, those guys showed up over the course of the early 2000s and so on and so forth. Whereas, like, we had several Godzilla sites. Some of them are now dead because the guys who used to run them realized, I don't got time to pay for the domains anymore. Or, hey, we could just, merge our websites into other, better, stronger websites. And so there was only, like, maybe one or two still, going strong, because these guys grew up and had a life, or they died off, or they got sick and was afraid they were going to die, stuff like that. But with the Ranger fandom and the Rider fandom, they're still kind of freshly new, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, they became more numerous at the time because everyone just wanted to do their own thing. And that was the similar thing with, Godzilla and Kaiju. And now that kind of sort of, like, their fan base died off, like the websites, but they're still existing. And then it's going to eventually, unfortunately, happen to people who are exclusively to Toei. If you don't start, opening your horizons, you might become extinct. It's one of those issues with the fandom. So I feel like if you really want to do better, start generalizing your interests, because eventually you're going to, like, if you only like just one thing and it's to a niche, you're going to build up its toxicity and kill it off.
That's the thing, is that we can't, outside of figure arts, some Bluefin products, we can't talk with our money in terms of importing toys. That's info that does not get back to the companies that make the stuff. You import a Rider belt, Ami knows you imported it, Bandai doesn't know, therefore Toei doesn't know. But Toei sees that you watched Amazon's on Amazon Prime. Oh, look at that. There's actually an audience here. Maybe we should release some more stuff. Because they got to be able to make money from everything, especially Toei. They love to make money off of anything. So if they're able to make money off of it, they're going to go after it. But if they don't think there's any money in it, then they're not going to go after it. You got to talk with your wallet if you want the franchise to be able to expand itself.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I think the general Tokusatsu fandom is not noticing either, is that even though we buy the stuff, and yes, toys do usually explain how a show is good in Japan, it's not the case when you're trying to expand it to North America. If you want to prove that there's a higher international market, you gotta put more time into watching the shows, unfortunately. It's not, I imported it from Ami Ami. No, to them, they just see that Ami Ami sold a shit ton of their stock. They don't care where it's going. They think that they sold it to a bunch of Japanese people within Japan. They don't assume it's coming over to us white boys here in America, you know?
Yeah, they don't have no idea how much of that is coming over here because that's info they don't need. Because they were like, oh yeah, you bought 40 good strikers. Yeah, no, we don't care where it went.
But nevertheless, so like I said, Ultraman, it's one of those things like me and Sam have been discussing. It's interesting, it's great, it's different, and I think people will come to like it. With you, you're going to start watching Gridman, then jump into Orb, and then eventually I'm going to, make you watch the unbastardization of one of the world's greatest Ultramen that is not Seven or Shodai, which is TaJa. And I'm going to take you high.
I'm looking forward to seeing more Ultraman, legitimately, and I think that I really kind of want to see more, and right now I'm kind of like, I'm in a spot where I don't have any Gundam to watch until, September, so I got a lot of time for Toku, so I'm going to be trying to, watch, I think I'm going to be watching Gingaman, Ryuki, Zero Black Blood, and then later Dragon Blood, Gridman, and then continue on my Mazinger Z watch through, and rotate through 5 days, a different show each day. So hopefully I actually succeed in that and I can watch a bunch of shows at once. Because, I don't know, I just feel like that's going to help me out because Toku can sometimes get repetitive, especially if you're watching the same series all the time. Personally speaking, Sentai's my favorite Toku, Garo's number 2, Rider's number 3, Ultraman's it's starting to get up there, but, it's the style and formatting of the franchises are very important, that you don't just watch the same thing all the time, because you either get way too set in your ways, you don't broaden your horizons, or you could just get tired of it. It's a very likely possibility. As much as I love Sentai, if I watch too many Sentai shows in a row, I can also get burned out in Sentai. So take it what you have, figure it out. I'm probably going to start watching Kaiketsu just like everyone else on Toku Twitter. Expand your horizons. Don't just stick to one Toku series. That's all I got to say.
Now, when I was watching all the Tokusatsus that were out and available at the time, my most favorite series were pretty much in the top 1, 2, and 3 that were tied with each other. Ultimately tied was watching Sentai, Ultraman, and Garo when there was only just the original Garo, nothing else, just the first freaking series of Garo. Those were my top tier weekly shows. Those were in there. And then around which would be jumbled in there would be Rider at the Dead Last. And then you had Rider was below Metal Hero too, because I loved Metal Heroes. I just loved the fuck out of them. And then you had various random Ishinomori heroes, various Ultra heroes just thrown in there too. But anything that was Ultraman has always been equal to Sentai for me. I feel very you know what I'm saying? For me, my top tier is always Sentai and Ultraman at this point, and then below it is switching out Garo and Kamen Rider, or a specific Metal Hero season, or a specific non-Ultra based, Subaraya production, or stuff say the Chosei series Ryu Kendo, and then you also have technically Keitai Sosakan 7, which I finally just watched, and I think it's a really good tokusatsu anime, but the problem with it's really written to be an anime that never existed. It's like an anime that never freaking existed turned into a live action drama. So like I said, if you watch more tokusatsu that's not Toei, you're gonna have I feel a better respect and representation of what tokusatsu is, because tokusatsu can be a lot of different things. But overall, I think with Ultraman X, it was that final thing that Soundout needed to check off on his tokusatsu watch list to say he's technically watched every major series that Japan's ever released.
Yeah, I have watched several Rider shows, a whole lot of Sentai, bunch of Garo. I've seen Metal Hero stuff. I have seen Ultraman. Those are the
Wait,
five
you're
major
missing one.
Toku franchises.
You're technically missing one because you've seen Godzilla 2, which counts. So you haven't watched a single Gamera movie, if I recall.
I haven't watched a single Gamera movie, but I own 11 of them. So it's only a matter of time.
I feel like we should do a Gamera watch together in the next couple of weeks.
Possibly.
But I'm just going to refer you to just go straight into the Heisei era.
Which is on my handy-dandy 11 movie set that I spent a whole $5 on at FYE.
If you see another one of those for clearance, get me one. But anyways,
Yes.
like I said, got anything else you want to say? Nothing else? We can start wrapping up now?
Think we're good to go.
So, Soundout, give an outro of who you are, where you are, and where you can, or I should say, where people should follow you, and so on and so forth.
Soundout12 on Twitter and YouTube, and I review Toku stuff occasionally. I'm going to announce this here. I'm planning to start up a review series of the Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue Zords / Go-Go 5 mecha. I recently put together my missing Zords of that. So I'm excited to do those because it's like my favorite set of Sentai Mecha of all time. So yeah, look forward to that and look forward to like other videos. Right now it's a lot of Gundam on that channel, but I kind of want to add in more Toku stuff again.
Alright, I am Wheelchair21. You can find me here on YouTube at Wheelchair21 and on Twitter at Wheelchair21. I technically have a Facebook page for Wheelchair21, and I have an Instagram as TaJa_Doyle. Honestly, right now, my YouTube channel is dead. It's not that I'm stopping reviewing, it's just that I kind of ran out of material. Like, I'm only getting like a figure a month right now, because I don't really do Transformer reviews. Even though I want to do Transformer reviews, like I want to review everything that I technically buy, even if it's like an American series that I like say Transformers. But I just don't have the drive to necessarily do it, because by the time I do it, there's already 87,000 videos already up there of the same toy I'm doing, whereas when I do Tokusatsu stuff, I'm usually technically quite timely when you look at the North American reviewer pool of people, and like when you think about good North American reviewers, there's only about technically 25 of us. But nevertheless, though, like I said, I don't have that many Tokusatsu items coming in, only because of the price of the Toku toys going up in price nowadays. Figure arts are high, role play is high, collecting is high, and plus I have to go to... we're high.
Wait, what?
But plus, we're going to Power Morphicon, so I have to save that money. And then after Power Morphicon, I'm just going to buy a lot of shit.
That's kind of my problem, too, is like I've pretty much been not buying much Toku stuff because I've been saving money. Like, I have been waiting all year to buy Loop Hat stuff, and it just hasn't happened, and it's probably not going to happen until after the series is over at this point. And...
yeah, so pretty much right now, the real reason why technically my YouTube channel is dead is Power Morphicon, but hey, it's going to pay off one way or another. Nevertheless, this has been Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, episode 55, and we should be seeing you guys next week with a brand new episode. And I don't even know what we're talking about next week, because we lost so much track of our original agenda in the 3 weeks we were technically off.
Well, if I somehow get super, like, energized, I could probably just blow through Kaiket Zubat, and we could discuss how Hiroshi Miyauchi just created the best character in Toku history.
Go back and re-see it fully subbed. But, yeah, that'd be an idea. Possibly. Who knows? Nevertheless, we'll see you all next week.
Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.